2 minutes in, we're still fixing shit. Nice.
So, welcome to the second episode of the Unschooled podcast. Yeah, I'm sounding like a radio man, but that's my job. So today we have आज हमारे साथ है Mr. Raghu from he'll just give his introduction. Raghu.
Hello, I'm Raghu. I'm 17 years old and I'm from New Jersey.
So we are playing Brawlhalla and
Brawlhalla,
yeah,
yep.
we're playing that. Let's get into the game and let's go with the flow. Let's see what happens. Dude, I actually forgot how to pick up the sword. How do you pick? Okay, so tell me about your journey a bit.
I started when I was about 3, technically. I used to go to a preschool, but I hated it. I really hated it at the time, at least. And and on top of that, I had this kind of, I think I had like a psychological reaction to it in a way, where I was very ill at the time.
Oh,
And we went to this kind of, hippie doctor, basically, to put it simply. And he said that you need to give this child a little bit more breathing room, I guess, in a way. It's not word for word, but it's about the gist. I don't remember
Yeah.
much, and I couldn't tell you much, but then he introduced us to unschooling.
oh,
And my mom, who pretty much hated the system when she went to school, right?
Oh.
She was like, I can give this a shot, even though it sounds quite interesting to say the least. And then that's pretty much how it started, it worked. Now it's not without its kinks,
Obviously.
but it's definitely it's very interesting, and I cannot say that I would know where I would be if we hadn't done that.
So what is unschooling for you? Like, for what is your definition? Because for me, for everyone, unschooling is something different. So I would like to know your perspective.
Well, simply put, it's just kind of, you live and you learn. It's the simplest way to put it, right? People have said
Nice.
this before, but that's essentially what it is, right?
That's true.
You
win.
you self-direct yourself, GG. You self-direct yourself, and then you kind of see where it all takes you.
Right. It's like living.
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean you completely abandon any order. It's more of a reform of what you do. You have to, through all the disorder of you finding things to do and to learn, you have to reform that into your own way of your own system. It's your own personalized system, as opposed to going to school and being told what to do, when to do it.
How did you made your order? Like, what was the process like?
Well, there still isn't much order for me, honestly speaking. But again, it's really based on the individual, right? If they have that kind of that self direction, and they can, it's so seamless for them. But for me, it's a little weird, because I found that it's like for a few weeks, right? I'll have this routine, but then all of a sudden it just doesn't work for me anymore, and I'll switch topics, I'll switch everything, or any I guess you could call it homework or such, and activities, and then I'll switch it, and then and I'll see what time best suits those particular activities, and then it kind of forms around that. So constantly adapting, really.
I hope this time I win. What do you think? Like, unschooling is obviously for kids more, but it's also for the parents. Like, it's a lot for the parents.
They have to yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pressure on them.
Not only pressure, but it's like unschooling is not only child driven. It's like parent is also going through that process. So-
Yeah, 100%.
So, what do you think about that? Like, can you see that they are also learning and adapting and everything? What do you think about that?
I think that's entirely true, but it's also it really depends on how well the parent knows the child, I'd say. If they, because in unschooling, right, you don't have teachers and all that to tell you what to do, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes despite this whole free learning thing, you need that push, you need that initiative, and if the child can't do that, then the parent has to step in, and it's basically their job to gauge how much of a push do they need, right?
Yeah.
And that's where it gets really tricky. This is definitely not an easy thing. Each person is different, so based on that, like, it'll really show you like how well this certain lifestyle is suited to you.
True.
I know a few like even like homeschoolers or unschoolers that have changed back to public schooling because they needed the social life, or like because they couldn't find it elsewhere. They needed that maybe that drive or that push in a different way that their parents could not provide for them, or they couldn't provide for themselves, because it's also partially on the child. So
Yeah.
again, it's completely based on the person. I know for a fact that if I was in a classroom, and if I was studying a subject I didn't like at all, I would be fidgeting all over the place. I'd probably be tested and like diagnosed with ADHD. So because they're really quick to do that, and then they
Yeah,
put you on
obviously.
some pill, right?
Are you going to get a degree for now?
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. There are a lot of things that I've been considering recently, but I guess the my career path is looking like it's going to be esports, professional gaming, like competing. But if I had to if I really found something that I'd like to major or minor in, then I definitely I'd check out college for sure, because it can be quite an asset,
Yeah,
for higher
obviously,
education.
obviously. And
But
as
that's the extent.
experience.
I wouldn't think about it too much, especially since like I have have access to community college. It's definitely so much more cheaper than committing yourself or trying to get into like well, any other place really. Like community college is mostly free, and whatever you might be interested in, you can go there. You can you can study it there, and then see what you want to where you want to go to next.
Yeah. So,
So I'd probably go there first before I decided on anything.
oh, I forgot I was that girl. I was thinking that you are the. Does unschooling affect your career in any way?
Even if I were getting a degree or anything, it wouldn't necessarily secure me the job, right? It's a very
Obviously.
tricky question, but
It is, it is.
no matter whether you went to school or not, everything in your in your life will still be up for question. Nothing's guaranteed. Yeah, that would
Nice.
be the best way to answer it, I'd say.
Spiritual shit, man. Next level. Tell me more about your career, this esports.
Video games have always been a pretty big part of my life. I've played them pretty much ever since I was like 5 or 6, right? Ever since I got like a DS Lite, and
Ooh, nice.
yeah, that's so fun. And ever since then, it was just kind of a very fun hobby of mine. Whenever I had free time, or pretty much, I just played video games, right? Uh, which is where most of my free time went to, in any case, or like most of my time, I should say. But then like about 3 years ago, I was playing Overwatch,
Ah.
and which is a team shooter, and I met a few people on there, right? And they were like, "Hey, we need one more person to join this local like tournament we're doing, on this server. And will you join?" And I was like, "Sure, yeah, it could be fun." I just tried it out, and it was very casual, nothing completely organized, but it was like super fun, and I think that's where it kind of started with those people that, hey, I could get very good at this game. I love this game, and let me see if I can take it further. And those are the people I went on my first team with, and we did tournaments, we did stuff like that. We weren't super successful, but we were pretty decent for the time. In any case, the game was still young, so we were definitely thriving. And then after a little bit, went on my second team, and that's where I really started. Like I could get to the big stages. I got to I got to a very high position in the world. I was at one point 112 in North America.
Oh wow.
On the in Overwatch, and then we participated in local tournaments together, my team. It's really been like quite an amazing journey. In this industry in particular, nothing is permanent. It can switch like that. And
yeah, I get that.
yeah, that's kind of what happened. I thought I was like for sure on the way to Path to Pro, But it just didn't work out. Like the game kind of like went in a separate direction. I went in a separate direction, you know. And it just changed. So keeping like I guess keeping my eggs in the esport basket is a very risky thing to do in that sense, by most standards. So you really have to be committed to this idea that I want to be like a pro at this, right? I want to make like a lot of money doing this. Otherwise, you won't get far. You have to stay committed.
The drive should be always there. Compassion,
Always.
I don't know.
Because if it's not there, then you shouldn't do it. You really shouldn't. You won't get anywhere. You'll waste your time.
I think that's for everything, not only for.
Here's another thing to it though. Esports careers die fast, very fast. They end at around like your mid 20s, right? So again, it leaves up to debate, like where I should go on from that. Even if I do make it, where can I advance to? So there's like a multitude of things. I could even go back to college, right? Everything is always going to be up for questions. Even people who have who've said they've planned their career, like what school they're going to get into. You think all of that is going to actually pan out exactly the way you said? Of course it's not. You can never know for sure where you will find your success.
Awesome journey, dude. That's flippin' awesome. I went to this thing called homeschooling conference. There I had a dialogue with this kid. He had a very negative point. They're like they only make games to control you. It's not fun. You don't know right now, but it's only negative and every shit like that basically. He said like there's no learning in games. And you can't really do anything, and you can't do anything useful. Now from his definition, useful is very different, but still I tried to debate with him. I did talk to him. I don't know if I convinced him or not, but I couldn't answer him. Like I could answer him, but because I wasn't a full-on gamer, I couldn't answer it in a very awesome way. So I would like to ask you same question, that what did you learn personally from gaming, and what were the pros and cons basically?
So me personally, I learned team building skills. I learned communication skills. I learned a lot of social skills. Because you have to constantly cooperate and communicate with people, whether you like it or not, pretty much, right? So you have to learn the best way to like basically be effective as a team. So that can help you out in certain ways, especially if you're like in a managerial position in wherever, pretty much, right? And I'd say the biggest con to like learning through anything virtual, right? And that doesn't just include gaming, it includes anything online, is that unless there's something based around like software or something like that, it really something like chemistry and all, you will never get the practical aspect of it. Only theoretical. You can only watch, you can only simulate, you can't get hands on. I would say that's the biggest downside. But otherwise, I'd say you can find better ways to learn, more effective ways, more personal ways. You can handpick. You can literally handpick whatever you want, and that can make learning for you infinitely more effective.
That makes sense. Now I was looking for these kind of answers back then, because that conversation went for like 3 hours. There's this thing going on, case bhai, if you're on school or homeschool, you're gonna play games all day. You're gonna waste your time. Mainly in unschooling, I've heard a lot of people saying that they think gaming and everything is a waste of time. You can answer them here, like you can answer them bluntly that gaming is not a waste of time. Just do it. Just destroy those kind of people, please.
Well, I'd say that to those who say it's a waste of time, I mean the facts are there. Like people who play video games, like or as entertainers or as competitors, are some of the most successful people out there. Now, obviously, maybe not Bill Gates rich, but pretty damn rich.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to measure success by money, that is. But overall, I mean, you could get into like streaming. You can make video games. There's so many possibilities that can come from just playing video games, that it'd be like committing yourself to a sport, right? And
Basically.
I don't think that you can effectively like you can just say that it's a waste of time. It's simply not true. There's no other way to put it. It's just not true.
One question I asked, people ask me oftenly, like their kids is like they're always playing games. They don't want to go out and stuff like that. So they want to talk about how internet is bad, and they want to go to extremes. Like even that happened in the recent Sam. They were all talking about how the internet is ruining the child's career and blah blah blah, or future or life, whatever. But they never wanted to talk about the relationship between the kid and the parent.
Yeah.
So, from your perspective, can you tell me a bit? Okay, I'm not sure how it should be, but like, uh, what makes it easier for both the people, if that's the situation. Like, if the kid is playing the game, if the kid is playing games all day, and the
Yeah.
parent is concerned. So, what will help?
Well, it depends on what the parent's concern is. Now, in this instance that you provided me, you said it's about them just wasting their time.
Hmm.
In that case, it really depends on what the kid is doing online. There's so many productive and very useful things, educational things that you can do with the internet.
Yeah,
But
obviously.
yes, there are quite a few things that can just be filler. And in that case, I tell the parent to try to strike a balance with that kid. Like see what they're doing, and if and analyze it, analyze what they're doing. Even if they're doing something as simple as watching what seems to you as random YouTube videos, look at them, see what they can actually learn from them, and if it's really nothing, then you know you can still talk to the kid. You don't have to immediately shut them down and say that what you're doing is useless right now. But talk to them, ask them what do they get out of it.
Like in the Sam also, that was the conclusion too. Like I also said that understand what they're doing, instead of just saying it's time pass, and see, actually understand their world, and
Engage with your child. Yeah.
make them understand your world, and you understand their world, and find a path in the middle, right? Something like that.
It won't always, like, let's say the kid tries to explain to his or her parent, right? This is what I'm getting out of it, or so and so. The parent will not always understand. So it is also kind of based on their good judgment to see whether they trust their child or not. Because in some instances, your child could have a innate sense of direction of like, this is good learning for me, and that's why I'm doing this, right? That can definitely happen. But if your child is just doing, if you perceive your child as doing something whatever, you still have to give it some time. It it can't be rushed, especially if they're like pretty young.
Pretty powerful, dude. You should write a book on parenting. Write a fucking book on parenting. Do it. I can help
Not
you.
yet. I gotta have some kids of my own first.
Oh shit. Or you can do it without kids. I mean, you'll be the first one to write a book on
The
parenting
first,
without
yeah,
kids.
yeah. I'm sure I will be the worst selling book of all time.